Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So, good morning. Today I'm going to talk about truth. And perhaps not in the way you might expect somebody to talk about truth, because I don't know much that is true. Although I used to think lots of things were true. That has changed substantially over the last couple of years. Let me share with you a few of the things that I used to think were true. I used to think that my version of right was definitely true, that other people were not right a lot of the time. And I'm laughing because I still have a lot of this kind of thinking, but it's getting less. It's getting less. I used to think I knew what other people were thinking. You know, the kind of, why are they doing that? And I would spend a lot of time analysing why they were doing that. Why were they behaving in that way? Why were they doing that thing? Why were they, why were they not doing it right? Because, of course, I was right and they were wrong. So I'd spend a lot of time in the why of other people's behaviour, making up these wonderful stories about why they were doing what they were doing and why they were thinking what they were thinking. So that's another thing I used to think was true. I also used to think that it was true, that my thinking about the future was true, and that really did create quite a lot of upset, I suppose, in my life, because I would spend a lot of time thinking about the future and making up pretty scary versions of the future and believing them. And then I went through another phase when I tried to manage that by having doing more positive thinking, trying to swap the negative thoughts about the future for positive thoughts about the future. But of course, now I see that's just swapping one lie for another. That's not true. Neither of my sets of thinking about the future were ever true, because we don't have the capacity to actually predict the future. We just don't have that ability. I know we think we do, but we don't. So that's another thing that's not true. My thoughts about myself. I used to utterly believe that I was this kind of person or that kind of person, that there were things that I could do and things that I couldn't do. And that definitely stopped me doing certain things, like turning up and making a session like this would have been completely and utterly outside of what I thought I was capable of. And as I said recently in one of these sessions, your thinking just categorically knows nothing about what you are capable of. Nothing at all. So what can we say is actually true? Well, there are some things that are true, I think, in life that we know about. I mean, it seems to me that it's true that gravity is a system that works on this planet, and in a lesser effect, it seems, on or a greater effect on other planets. It is even there on our moon, not to the same extent that it is here. So gravity and the way that works, the way that if I pick something up and drop it, I haven't got anything to hand actually, that's not going to end up flying everywhere, that consistently is going to fall down. I can't make it do anything else because that's true. It's true that gravity works all the time. It's true that there are some principles that you need to understand and you need to use in order to get an airplane to take off and fly to far off places. The principles of flight, for example. And I'm sure if I looked into all sorts of different science areas, there would be lots of things that would be true. You know, like you take two molecules of oxygen and you put it with one of hydrogen. No, two hydrogens and one oxygen, H2O, and you get water. Like that's another fact, isn't it? That's how water is made, H2O, two hydrogens and one oxygen. But what about us? How can we know? If I'm saying to you, there's a lot of stuff in your head, in fact, the vast majority of things that come through your head are not true, where does that leave us actually? It can for a moment feel like that leaves us in a bit of a tricky spot. Like what do we believe? What on earth do we know to be true? Well, what we know to be true is not really the content of the thinking, but the fact that it's how it's created. I don't know if you've ever just sat for a moment, and you don't have to do this for long, to just notice your thinking for a few minutes, and you will notice what a lot of random rubbish pops into your head. Odd words, little phrases, little memories, just bing, 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 bing. They're just popping in, aren't they? If that was true, then goodness gracious, there'd be a lot of strange stuff going on, wouldn't there? But it's not. It's not true. And that's the thing to know about your thinking. Most of it isn't true. Most of it's just your learnt ideas about life that came from other people in the past. Other people who were around you when you were younger, other people who said things to you, things that you misunderstood just from being in the world when you were younger. And other things that you'll still be learning now that look really true because the people telling you them are really convincing. And because they seem to have what you want, the way of feeling, a way of being, perhaps. So there's the thing about thinking, that it's a creation. It's not an instruction, it's a construction. It's not a truth. It's something that's been created. So that's something that's actually true. That's actually something that's true about your thinking, not the thinking itself, but what it actually is. And the other thing that really helps us in this consideration about which thoughts to follow and which thoughts to not, because the result is our behaviour, isn't it? It's what we do in the world or don't do in the world. And that's your feelings. This much maligned aspect of human nature is actually your perfect guide. We're spending all this time, I think, as a race, trying to control feelings, trying to change them, trying to manipulate them, trying to force them down in whatever way makes sense to us, innocently, of course. But actually, your feelings are letting you know whether or not you're going in the right direction. And by right, I mean guided by your wisdom, by the wisdom of the world that is just truly amazing. I've spent a lot of time in nature in the last few days, and just seeing the wisdom of every aspect of nature, from the trees to, the animals, to the birds and what they're doing at the moment. It's all guided, isn't it? They're all guided, and they are just being with that, whereas we're not so good at that, are we? It's helpful to know that system is there, always there to guide you. It's always letting you know which direction to go in. And that's amazing, isn't it? When you have an anxious feeling, that's telling you you've got anxious thinking. If you have an angry feeling, it's telling you you have angry thinking. It's guiding you. It's letting you know about your thinking. That's true. That's true all day, every day, no matter what you're feeling, no matter what the emotion is that's rising up inside you. It's just letting you know about your state of mind. If the thoughts are telling you that it's telling you about the outside world, those are not the thoughts to follow, because that's what leads us to react, isn't it? And perhaps not say things we really want to in the end, because we regret them later, don't we? So, yeah, that's it really. The truth. The truth is your feelings are guiding you. That's probably one of the only truths that's actually out there for us. Watch out for them. Not in a trying to control them way, but in a guided way. You are being guided by your feelings all the time, all day, every day. Trust them. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.